Wild Card Weekend kicks off with Pro Football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Take a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays. Jackpot. Cherry. I'm nimble for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
We welcome you back to our college football playoff semifinal special. It is in-game live game day, live right here on SportsGrid. We are still at the half between Penn State and Notre Dame at the Orange Bowl. The Nittany Lions ahead 10-3. But the big question and the story at the half is the status of Notre Dame quarterback Riley Leonard. From college football media members that are in attendance in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium, they have said that Riley Leonard is back out onto the field, out of the tunnel, with his helmet on, warming up with his teammates, looking like he is gearing up to go for the second half with Notre Dame. Still at the half, but encouraging news for the Irish. That could be a huge component of how this second half plays out. Penn State ahead by 7. 10-3. Live line 7.5 in favor of the Nittany Lions. Live total 33.5. Kev, you said it right before the break. With the status of Leonard uncertain, hard to really find an angle to wager live at the half. Has that changed at all based on the reporting in Miami?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting now because, one, just so people know, I am a pessimist at times when it comes to I try not to be.
Right.
Like, there's a part of me that, because it's college football, I'm like, do you think he's, like, warming up with the helmet to throw him off, and then he'll, like, hit the sideline and it'll be Agnelli? Can you do that? Like, if you're ruled out with a concussion, can you still throw a helmet on and warm up?
It's a great question. I don't know if you would be skirting some line. I don't know what the protocol rules are in college football, but I think it is worth monitoring that it's not like we have seen Riley Leonard take a snap just yet in the third quarter.
Right, that's, so until I see him take that snap, I probably won't be all too pleased with the situation.
I mean, we sat here for a year thinking Cam Rising was going to play each and every Saturday for Utah, so I do understand the skepticism.
Again, this guy might play in this game. We don't know. Is he cleared yet?
He's good. He's a go.
Cam Rising?
No, not Cam Rising. No, right. I think again. They wouldn't make him run into the halftime with his helmet on if he was in concussion protocol. Especially, I mean, a hit to the head. They're going to put the helmet on and run into the locker room. I mean, we got to use a little deductive reasoning.
You know what I actually think is the bigger thing with it, outside of the helmet? He was running alone.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. There was no training staff with him.
And he's probably thinking to himself, man, that's 44 passing yards I could have had out there for K-Dub's problem.
I'll tell you what.
The more you think
390, we saw the total jump from 33.5 to 36.5. The 390 was available on the money line for Notre Dame. You're getting plus 340 right now.
What about Aller? 122.5. He's at 53. That's 70 yards.
I would say yes. Right?
I mean, it's so low.
I mean, he should. You want to take him for 150? I would alt him to what? You're telling me a guy can't get a.
You wouldn't play him for like a low number. You'd play him for a big.
An alt. Yeah. I mean, again, 70 yards. If he's going to get 70, he's got a very good shot. There he is. He's fine.
What is the world that I could if Love it like?
Hey, look. There you go.
We're always behind.
Yeah, he's
right?
waving.
Like in a
helmet. He's good.
Like I'd love to actually click this Jeremiah Love bet now. The more
I took
look
Jeremiah Love anytime touchdown plus 320.
It's remained at 21.5, Kev.
That's a very you're talking about 12 yards.
Yeah.
Like if he's the running back that starts the half, that means you got a couple of carries coming your way, right?
Yeah, you would think so. He did start the game, right? He does not seem to be at 100%, wearing a knee brace on that aggravated knee injury that he suffered in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia. But as we are about to start the third quarter in South Florida, Notre Dame receives the opening kick of this second half. And the broadcast did show Riley Leonard with his helmet on, talking to his offensive line, warming up like he is about to walk on to the field. So the second half just about to begin. Those live prop options that were available during our halftime break have locked, as have the live lines, as I all think we wait to see the quarterback who trots onto the turf in South Florida. It is Riley Leonard. 6 of 11 in the opening half for Leonard. 63 yards and an interception. Kev, your best bet, over 165.5 for the Irish signal caller. How do you feel about that now as Jeremiah Love alongside him in the backfield?
Listen, if full honesty, I'm going to be very annoying. I'll try to minimize it on air because 44 yards went to Agnelli. Now, not for no reason. A very well, you know what's odd?
Yeah.
I don't want did he lose out on yards for no reason? Like, I know you have to check, right? But, like, ultimately, if he's out there, I don't know. It's a weird thing. I'm a little frustrated about it. And it's just, when you bet a number that low, everything matters.
For sure.
I would be 60 yards away, trailing by 7. I played some alts personally. Now I need 100 yards in the half. It's still no guarantee.
An operational penalty that was very rare to see for Notre Dame. And to start that possession, a delay of game on their opening snap from scrimmage here in the third quarter. So they moved back 5 yards, but the first actual play after the ball was snapped, a run to Jeremiah Love. Seeing some interesting things in the box score. Don't want to get ahead of myself here, but there is a chance that live number at the break for Notre Dame's starting tailback of 21.5 might already be over as Jeremiah Love is moving the football by himself.
So
close to the first down marker. It looks like the side judge has ruled him right there. 4 carries, 25 yards for Jeremiah Love. Were you able to get in?
No, that's all right.
All right,
but
you're back. You're back. That's the biggest thing. We got tempo now. That's it. Put everything in the rearview mirror. We got points ahead of us. Here we go.
You're back, he said.
Look at him run. The kid's hungry.
3
How about
times
a tutty?
to start
How
the
about
opening
a tutty?
drive. And Jeremiah Love, his second consecutive run for a first down. He is looking and feeling good.
Kid's
6
hungry.
carries so far
Kid's
for
hungry.
Love, 35 yards. Even his pregame prop, because of his status a little bit uncertain with that re-aggravated knee injury, 34.5 right now. Love has cleared that number, Lisa.
Yeah, so now, assuming they get points on this drive, we got to think ahead, right? Aller, what are we going to do in terms of Penn State?
Stinks. I only think he throws
I
it if
know.
they're up.
We should have jumped on the 340. Should have get up the field. We should have jumped on the 340.
340 what?
Plus money line.
Notre Dame's money line.
Notre Dame's money line.
Yeah, you can never.
I didn't know if plus 340 was
Well, it was 390. We could have gotten 4-1. We could have gotten 4-1. It was good value.
So a
Now
quick
it's
run
down
to
to 180.
Jadarian Price, who came in to spell Jeremiah Love for about a foot, but it was enough to pick up a first down on second and short. Live numbers moving rapidly here. 4.5-point spread now is that live line in favor of Penn State. Again, at the break, north of a touchdown, 7 and a hook. And Lisi, guy, that total up by 3 points already as Notre Dame's opening offensive possession of the second half.
He got it.
Really,
Yes,
really
boy.
good.
All right.
36.5, that live total. Aeneas Williams
This kid's
out of the
got
backfield
something.
again, and a dime drop by Riley Leonard.
Five for 66. Way
Huge
better
for
than
the
that
total.
Agnelli.
This game's opening up. I
Oh.
told you. Have faith. You gotta have faith.
Yeah, but we could have
Nah,
more
please,
yards.
let's get to 7. Let's get to 7.
All right. Would you
All
throw
right?
here?
Yeah,
I would run
throw
Riley.
it. I
I
need
would
Jeremiah
run
Love
Riley.
anytime touchdown.
Yes.
Run it!
Panther, Larry's light.
Oh,
out of a
Aeneas.
cat. Makes some man miss.
Oh.
He's down to the 5.
I mean, what
All right.
more do you want
Shut
out
up,
of an
Wouldn't mind a passing
named
touchdown.
Aeneas?
Wouldn't mind a passing touchdown.
I'll tell you
Guide
what.
always.
I think you
A
have one, don't
36-yard
you?
pass.
Jeremiah Love, I need that.
But he's
Touchdown.
not in. So can we get a passing touchdown if
Sure.
he's not in?
Could he go to the
36-yard
tight end?
reception for
Okay.
Aeneas Williams, followed by a 15-yard run on the ensuing Notre Dame play. The Irish
Oh, I need
inside
points.
Penn State's
Come
5-yard
on.
line, down to the 4.
Easy
First
over there.
and goal to go. Just
Oh!
over 3 minutes
in!
off the clock in the opening half. Hey, that's trust in Riley
Whoa,
Leonard.
whoa, whoa.
Oh, he's in!
Got some help from his friends. Was it enough to break the pylon? I do believe they called
little
him
help,
down.
my
A
friend.
stop of forward momentum. One of the great quotes from Riley Leonard after the Sugar Bowl against Georgia when asked about the offensive philosophy from his staff early in the year, when asked, hey, do they ever tell you to slide when you have 14 carries for 80 yards as Notre Dame's starting quarterback? Leonard said at this point, it's a lost cause. Went into the tent before the break and running it on
got
design quarterback keeps. Deep in Penn State territory.
All right.
Will Notre Dame score its first touchdown of the game on the opening drive of the second half? Find out next.
Come on.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with pro football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Taking a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
oh yeah. Remember that,
I
Kenny?
would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays. Jackpot. Cherry. I'm nimble for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
We welcome you back to IGL Game Day. It's our college football playoff semifinal special. Notre Dame gets the ball first in the third quarter to open up the second half. With Riley Leonard healthy and out there, they storm right down the field, and it is capped off by the Irish's opening touchdown of the night to start the third quarter. How healthy is Riley Leonard? How about 2 design quarterback keepers on first and second and goal to get Notre Dame across the pylon? Riley Leonard from 3 yards out has evened up this game at 10 apiece at the Orange Bowl. Kev, Riley Leonard, a strike to Aeneas Williams for 36 yards to get inside Penn State territory. Then Aeneas Williams on the ground on the immediate play after 15 yards down to the 4 in 2 straight quarterback runs designed by Mike Denbrock for his quarterback, Riley Leonard. Any idea he might be a little sluggish to start? Completely dispelled right away.
That's a really good point. Leonard, attempts-wise, is having a nice night. Yardage-wise, not as much on the ground. The completion there, though, puts him well back on pace. In fact, 164.5 is his live number. If I'm honest, it feels like a terrible number. I don't need bet like 7 or 8 on Leonard's passing, though. If you haven't got in yet, you can get involved with college player prompts. The secondary for Penn State, there's vulnerability there. Whether that's because they're selling out against the ground, whatever it might be, there's vulnerability there tonight for Notre Dame to where, and they are still projected to be trailing throughout the football game.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, if he was at I'm not going to say he should be at 143.5, but he very easily could have 150 in this game if he didn't miss very valuable passing time when he did. So I feel very good about the Leonard numbers here. I will say this, Lisi. I still don't have a good gauge on the Notre Dame backfield.
Yeah,
I don't.
No, the backfield, no, in terms of carries. It looks like you going with the hot hand and Aeneas Williams in the receiving game, third down situations. But Jeremiah Love, I still think has value in terms of anytime touchdown. I will say this, and I told you earlier, second half adjustments. Marcus Freeman, Denbrock, that staff, they make them.
Yep.
I haven't seen that throughout the course of the year for James Franklin. They win games they're supposed to. In games that they're not supposed to win, they never made second half adjustments. Didn't do it against Ohio State after the 10-0 lead. Didn't do it in the Big Ten championship game. They're going to have to do it here because, again, they're going to take away your best option. That's the rushing attack. Marcus Freeman is a very good head coach, defensive mind. Yeah. They're going to put the game on. Now Drew Eller. I told you I took Wallace, cheap yards. Omari Evans as well. I think has value. You got to have to make plays in the passing game. Can they do it? But that was great value. I'm sorry, 4-1 for Notre Dame. Even with Angeli, was still great value in the first half.
And that was a huge offensive possession for the Fighting Irish because outside of the score and Notre Dame trailing by a touchdown at the half, the biggest storylines of the game, the injuries to the most impactful players for Marcus Freeman's team. Riley Leonard, of course, first and foremost as the quarterback, but Jeremiah Love did not look to be 100% in the opening half. Only a couple of carries in those first 2 quarters. He was the bell cow early in that drive, picking up chunks on the ground to get first downs for that Notre Dame offense. Penn State trying to respond now with their opening offensive possession, a run to start, a completion to Tyler Warren.
Huge third down here, right? You get off the field now. Now you flip this game script the way Penn State had you on the ropes reeling. Now you have the opportunity to take the lead if you get 3 and out here.
The question is, do they go back to this same, wide concept that's worked all night long for the
Stuff
rush attack?
Get him! Nowhere! Miss! That's it!
That's a great adjustment, I would just say, by Marcus Freeman. The thing he stressed outside of the status of his quarterback, Riley Leonard, in his quick on-field interview heading to the locker room. They must stop the run. Penn State with nearly $150 on the ground in the opening half, and you saw them try to go lateral, try to use their speed on the exterior. Notre Dame just blew it up. They just pushed upfield and made sure that was staying in the backfield, and the Irish's skipper and Marcus Freeman is fired up. So Notre Dame goes right down the field in scores on their opening drive of the second half to tie it at 10-all, forces a quick 3 and out. Penn State punts. Notre Dame will get the football back. At least you got less than 7 minutes into this third quarter. Notre Dame has tied the score, forced a 3 and out, now gets the ball back to try to strike again.
And they'll probably be favorite, right? So think about that. You went from 7.5-point dogs at 4-1 underdogs to now potentially taking the lead and flipping the script on Penn State where it was bully ball in the first half. Right, all of a sudden you blink. If you're a Penn State backer on this drive, you're potentially down 13-10 or 17-10. What does that do to the total? And in terms of fourth quarter, could be wild. This game, I already altered it. I took it before 48.5. I did take 4-1. Was too good for me to pass up.
Lisi guy, the odds maker as well. Notre Dame scores to tie the game. They force a 3 and out. Penn State punts. The Irish are a favorite, laying 1.5 points in the spread. minus 128 on the money line. The updated total up by 4 from where it was at the break, 37.5, Kev.
Yeah, it's a tough number, though, because I was looking now, Leonard rushing, but 25 plus is minus 180. That's a tick expensive. They're not hanging a true number on him, though. For anybody who's bet on FanDuel, you have your over-unders, and then they do the 25, 40, 50. So we go from 25 plus to 40 plus. I'm not getting a 28.5, 29.5, which is a number that I would actually be interested in because Notre Dame is in a very normal game script. They're not going to want to run the ball with Riley if they can, and that would be a really nice number. But at minus 180, I cannot get there. I absolutely cannot.
You almost wonder, of course, the uncertainty around his status being checked for what it seemed to be a head injury at the end of the opening half, what that live prop would have been. They were hanging one on Drew Aller, 53 yards in the first 2 quarters, 122 and a hook. That live number now on Riley Leonard, back up to his pregame prop of 165 and a hook. He has 99, and this has been a theme for the Irish now in the college football playoff. End of the opening half against Georgia. They take a 6-3 lead. They force the strip stack. They score, and on the ensuing kickoff to start the third quarter, house call, 98 yards, 20-3. Georgia could never fight their way back. Kev, field goal right before the break. Touchdown on the opening offensive possession, forcing a 3-and-out defensively.
Coaching. I think with Saban retiring and a down year for Kirby, didn't make the playoff last year, you could argue the status for best coach in college football is up in the air. Now, I don't think it's up in the air for everybody that's left, but for Freeman, it very well might be, and he's making some good moves so far.
Notre Dame gets the football back. We're tied at 10 apiece in the Orange Bowl. We'll continue on SportsGrid next.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with Pro Football today at 10 a.m.
And SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Taking a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, "Hey, I never got the text." And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays? Jackpot, cherry. Remember for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, shit.
Live right here on In Game Live. It is our CFP semifinal special. Notre Dame got the football back for its second possession of the second half. Was driving down the field. Are you seeing the same thing that I'm seeing?
Yeah, but that's not the case, is it?
They credited Steve Angeli with that completion.
Yeah, and the incompletion, but that's Riley Leonard.
That's Riley Leonard. Yeah, I just think something is slightly off.
All
There's
right.
an 18 that Angeli wears that Almost looks like if you were round out the 13, it has been
You had a couple drinks,
all
maybe.
Riley Leonard. But Notre Dame did have some momentum. Now we'll punt the football back to Penn State. Still about
Boom!
6.5 minutes remaining. Yeah, big time.
You want a chicken bake, baby? Come on. Look at him.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
Swing and a miss.
Nah,
Boom!
needed that kid to drop that on the turf.
Yeah,
That would have helped.
for the total.
What a
Nice
form
shot.
tackle.
Good. That's
great.
That's foot.
Looks
They
like
don't
you.
wrap up
That's the
anymore.
way
They
Teddy
don't wrap up
imagined it in
anymore.
1904. I got some info here for the group behind the scenes in just a little bit that I can share with you. Just our own personal handicapping in terms of how we are seeing this game. So again, we are tied at 10-all. Penn State will get the football back. A Notre Dame special teamers making an absolutely large lick for Penn State, who will get the ball back inside their own 20-yard line on their own 15. Those live numbers, by the way, with this game even up at 10. Now a 2.5-point spread back in favor of the Nittany Lions. Total has dropped by a point to 36.5. Lisa, we had seen Notre Dame, after forcing the 3 and out, flip to the favored side, just a 1.5 and a couple of cents here and there on the money line. Now a 2.5-point number back in favor of the Nittany Lions. What do you make of it?
Yeah, they got complacent a little bit. I thought the play calling was a little bit vanilla. Yeah, again, you start at your 30, your quarterback comes out, he makes a big throw, you score the touchdown, you get the football back with the opportunity to take the lead by 3 or 7. And again, they run, they get into a predictable third down. It's a short underneath throw, and they kick the football back with Penn State trying to play field position. I understand that type of mentality, but again, when your quarterback comes out hot and he's making big throws like he was, and now the game is on the line and you have the potential to take the lead, that's where, if you're Denbrock, you have to put the football on Riley Leonard's shoulders and say, come on, carry us into at least a field goal, and at least let's rely on the defense in terms of that situation. We'll see how this drive plays out. Again, Penn State pinned inside the 20. They can't be too complacent. You don't want to play that field position game with Notre Dame where they're going to get the football back inside the 50, and then all of a sudden now entering the fourth quarter, you're at a deficit. So we'll see how aggressive they are.
I tend to think Penn State passes on this drive. Opening play went for 2, went nowhere. They threw it to Warren. He continues to be great.
Yeah.
And then they tried to run again, and it went nowhere. I think there's a desire to put Notre Dame off balance. But I'm not sure. I'm not completed past 260. Warren to catch a pass 120.
He's got 59 yards. Does a wideout have he got the big play to Katron Allen, and Warren has 23 yards. There's not been a wide receiver, Wallace, Evans. Nobody's been involved in terms of the passing attack for Drew Aller. I mean, this
not
is
a wide receiver. Luke Reynolds, the backup reserve tight end.
Make it or break it, kid. You want to make it to the big time? Make a big time throw. And if you're James Franklin, let's step up and live up to expectations. You haven't won a big game in your career in Happy Valley. He hasn't. Let's call it what it is. Those 2 playoff games were a complete joke.
And they were favored in both. They closed as a slight favorite here. Drew Aller and his Nittany Lions offense take the ball back with just over 6.5 minutes remaining in the third quarter from their own 15-yard line. And again, it has not been a wide receiver. It has been the Mackey Award winner in Tyler Warren. First play for Penn State deep in its own territory, a double-digit yard completion of Warren.
So what I said first pass complete, Warren to catch up. I mean,
would have been a nice little parlay there. Yeah,
I don't know. I think these teams are to some degree limited, that it's a tick predictable.
Mm-hmm.
I also think, look, I sit up on the desk a lot, and, I have a good feel, I think, at times for what teams might want to do. That was very obvious. Also, he's not allowed to do anything other than throw the ball to Tyler Warren. He's not allowed to do anything.
To Andy Kotelnicki's credit, right, he has a Swiss Army knife in both Tyler Warren and, you could argue, Nick Singleton at times, so he designs plays to incorporate them. But it looked as though Aller was looking for Warren in the flat, couldn't find him. So then instead of just trying to sit there for a moment, he tried to take off and got a gain of no yards. So 3rd and long for Penn State as we tick under 5.5 minutes in the third quarter. We are tied at 10 apiece at the Orange Bowl in our first of 2 college football playoff semifinal matchups.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with Pro Football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Take a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, "Hey, I never got the text." And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that,
I
Kenny?
would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe. Like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays. Jackpot. Cherry. I'm nimble for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
After a big completion on their opening offensive play of their second drive in the second half, that was about it for Penn State's offense. Drew Aller takes a couple of sacks, and on 3rd and long, goes down to the turf. Penn State punts the football for its second consecutive possession here in the third quarter. And every time we have seen Penn State punt the football back to Notre Dame in this third quarter, Notre Dame has flipped to the favored side on the live line. We are still all square at 10. 10 for the Irish, 10 for the Nittany Lions here at the Orange Bowl. But once again, Notre Dame laying a 1.5 in the live line, minus 125 on the money line. That slight money line favorite, and a total Kev at 34.5. Anything that you like entering this third offensive possession for Notre Dame here in the third quarter?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Jeremiah Love got a couple of looks to open up this drive. You look at the last drive, he was not involved at all. So could it be drive on, drive off? We know how good he was on the touchdown drive. What do you do? 3 carries for 25 yards,
something
give or take, to open that drive up there. So that wouldn't surprise me. The problem is the price was so much better at half, right? 12 yards to cash that number. You had a whole half to work with. You need 20 yards to get over his live number right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he can't get there. I don't think it's a great number. I don't want to fade him because we know how explosive he could get, though, as well.
And he was out there.
Get up the field, kid. Get up the field. The kid wants it. 9 yards.
Should be. I mean, how many numbers are we through?
I need 11. I needed 11 to 60. Is basically
but you've
6
got,
to 1.
So you've got
I got 40 and 50 in the bank already.
40 and 50 in the bank.
60.
That's Mitchell Evans, by the way, the tight end for Notre Dame.
60 gets me
Pre-game prop, just regular, was what?
28.5.
So threw that in the first half, threw that on the opening offensive possession with 38 yards. He is now north of 50 yards here for Notre Dame, approaching 60. You have 60, 70, and 80 on Notre Dame.
70, 60, and then we jump to 80.
Oh, so no 70. Just
No,
bypass.
yeah. But let me tell you, that was the mismatch tonight. And if you're Notre Dame right now, you're as a team, I think you're playing with a little more confidence. Why? Because now all of a sudden that offensive line for Penn State isn't blowing you off the ball right now.
No,
you're shutting down the run. You're forcing Drew Aller into long third downs. You've made slight offensive adjustments offensively with Denbrock, and your quarterback Riley Leonard seems like the more confident quarterback right now. He's got a touchdown under his belt. You got to get this drive past midfield and come away with at least a field. I'm just saying, the longer this game goes back and forth, there's the opportunity to blow it. This is a perfect opportunity. Seize the moment. Get the first down. Be aggressive. Get it across midfield and stick the nail in the coffin, man.
Nothing you did. Dammel just tweeted out Riley Leonard will play.
Like right now?
Just now. You're like, hey.
He might be a couple of beers in.
It was Thamel
might be a couple of
bringing
beers
those
in.
passes to Steve Angeli on that last drive. I think this is that Angeli.
I just, you keep the notifications on just to stay alert. That was a bit stunning there. So it broke me, Lisi, and I apologize.
No, again, some of these guys that cover on the sidelines, partake in the festivity.
All right, I don't want to say that. I was just saying he might have
third, and he's obviously late.
In bad Wi-Fi.
Yeah, maybe so. Third and truly just a few inches for Notre Dame from their own 38-yard line to pick up a first down, continue this drive, 3:17 remaining in the third quarter.
Here's a test. What do you call here?
Riley Leonard's number.
But do you run like a power or do you sneak it?
See, I think they're going to run a power. I would sneak it.
All right, that's the right call. They will sneak it as well. Notre Dame's a real football team.
All right, good. There he is.
See that?
Lining up under center.
No.
Oh!
Come on.
Sight.
Check Panther.
But it does look like it's going to be Riley Leonard's number.
Get it, kid.
Everybody in the stadium knew it.
And look, he gets there.
And
right?
Notre Dame still gets it.
Well, why is it better to have him 7 yards?
Never understand.
Right?
Never understand it.
To get 6 inches. I don't know. Crazy. It is what it is. Tempo. Here we go.
Was
Run
awarded the
tempo.
first down, so Notre Dame will keep this drive going. Just over 2.5 minutes remaining here in the third quarter. And listen, the odds makers entering this game, whether it was Penn State as a slight money line favorite or earlier in this week, the Fighting Irish, it really never was pregame north of a field goal, and the total was 45.5. We expected a tightly contested, competitive game where scoring would be at a premium. So far, guys, it's really what we're seeing here in Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. Here it is. They can't take the sacks.
I just want to mention this because we may get lost. Talk about odds makers. Because of this game, if Ohio State wins tomorrow, they will be over a touchdown undoubtedly to the winner of this game.
Yes.
The question is, can they win so dominantly it gets to double digits?
A projected hypothetical favorite in that matchup for a national championship game. 8.5-point favorite for Ohio State against the Irish. 9.5 against its conference foe in Penn State. There is a chance that if Ohio State looks as dominant and impressive as they did in their opening 2 college football playoff games, to Kevin's point, it could be double digits, especially because neither the Irish or the Nittany Lions lighting this on fire right now.
We do this on Thursday nights. What's overtime? What's the number on overtime?
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm thinking 17-17. Do we have an overtime number? I'd be
Will
curious.
there be overtime plus 450?
Not enough for me.
Nowhere near enough.
No.
It's the third quarter. We just started the game.
Yeah.
All right.
I would need like 12-1.
Whoa, all right. Jeez.
Well,
an odds boost?
Well, that's what we saw. I'm thinking NFL. We saw some crazy lines.
Whoa.
60 seconds.
Who is that?
Joe, I believe that's it.
Oh,
no.
that's
Jaden Greathouse.
That's all right.
That's Greathouse.
All right, we'll take them. All right. All right. The kid wants it. The kid wants
Jaden
it.
Greathouse comes down with a
He's through his
huge
numbers.
reception
did Riley
in the
Leonard
final minute
set the
of
single-game passing record in the history of college football. At this
potentially
rate.
so. Here,
This guy's
Riley
got
Leonard
something, Lisi.
put the ball up to his wide receiver, Jaden Greathouse,
24
who comes
yards.
down with an 18-yard reception to move the sticks on 3rd and long.
They're
And
a pass
Denbrock
offense.
is not
They're
done
a
here.
pass offense. Good run.
All right.
Notre Dame moving the sticks. Notre Dame has been by far more impressive offensively here in the second half at last check. And the numbers have been credited correctly on ESPN's box score to Riley Leonard. 136 yards for Leonard.
Can I ask you to do math for me quickly?
I'll try.
I don't know if it maybe the gap in yards gained since that Penn State touchdown. Because it feels like it would be beyond belief. Lisi, they probably let the quarter drop here. They don't, Lisi. You love that.
I love that.
You love that.
I do.
That's your kind of play call.
That's aggressive. Don't waste any time. You don't have the lead. You want to score. I love it. Great call.
Now, with the total, Lisi, right?
Yeah.
You have 33.5 right now. We're at 20. So
2 touchdowns.
Two touchdowns gets you there. I actually think, and I'll dip into your bag, I think you think greedy. You think touchdown.
Yeah.
Let's go. What? So then what, right?
2 field goals then. I'm thinking
20,
40,
20.
and that's why I thought that's what I originally
over
thought
40 and a
20, overtime.
What's the lowest live total that you bet tonight? 34.5?
33.5.
33.5.
I almost jumped in on the 30.5 at half, right before halftime. I didn't pull the trigger.
To your question, obviously some of it was possession-oriented with Notre Dame ending the half on a long drive to kick a field goal and then to start the second half on that touchdown drive. Since Penn State jumped out to a 10-3 lead late in the second quarter, Notre Dame has outgained the Nittany Lions 175 yards to 25 yards. It's been all Notre Dame offensively here, and Penn State has not been able to sustain a drive here in the third quarter. Just 7 total plays in the second half for a total of 25 yards in barely over 4 minutes of time of possession.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing is if, and it's a third down right now, but if Notre Dame gets a touchdown, what in the world does that Penn State drive look like? What does that look like? That's the big question.
We'll be back on SportsGrid after this break.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The fourth and final quarter has begun at the Orange Bowl in South Florida, and Notre Dame is driving deep into Penn State territory on a 3rd and 2, an end around to wide receiver Jaden Thomas that picked up a first down and a new possession or at least a new set of downs for Notre Dame, and then a pass interference call on Penn State's linebacker Kobe King, it would appear. The Irish have it 1st and goal from Penn State's 2-yard line. And Notre Dame, guys, now a live 6.5 favorite. it.
Run!
He's in!
The effort.
Jeremiah Love!
For one, Jeremiah Love.
This Irish team's special.
You don't want to take him plus 3.
Aggravated.
Come on,
for
now.
his injury. 14 games for Notre Dame this season entering tonight. The only game Love did not score in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia. And an effort near the goal line. You have to see to believe. Jeremiah Love does not quit. Jeremiah Love does not go down. Jeremiah Love extends across the goal line. And Notre Dame has its first lead of the night at the Orange Bowl. Up 16-10, awaiting the PAT from Mitch Jeter.
Come on now.
Little Big Ten football right there. Rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. Minus 430 to be in a title game. Minus 430.
All right, can we get points? Could they tack on 3 more?
Sorry, told you the Notre Dame team total. Wheel with that full game.
What do you mean, sorry? You don't want to take them at plus 390.
Because I was busy. I was depressed. Leonard in the tent. I was in the tent with him. I was saying, kid, come on. We got a big hand.
I was your life coach.
Were you?
I was.
You were telling me Agnelli throwing the ball
was like
good
Tony
for
Robbins. I was trying to build you up. The kids in.
Who's that, the Vatech coach?
Brent Pry?
I don't know.
I'm not even quite sure what you guys are saying right now, watching this replay of Jeremiah Love get into the end zone. The Mitch Jeter extra point is good. Notre Dame leads 17-10 early in the fourth quarter. The Irish looking to play in a national championship game for the first time since 2012. Notre Dame looking to win its first national championship since 1988. 10-play drive, 71 yards, 5 minutes and 19 seconds, capped off by a Jeremiah Love 2-yard touchdown run. Kev, you said it back when we weren't entirely sure who the quarterback would be for the Fighting Irish in this second half, that with the significant injury to the two most important offensive players for Notre Dame, Riley Leonard and Jeremiah Love, what would the offense look like? But maybe Love would give you a gritty effort and leave it all out on the line for a spot in the national championship. He has certainly done that here in the third quarter and now early in the fourth.
100%. Look, Notre Dame playing this game at a disadvantage rest-wise as well.
Yeah.
You know, and that was booked into it regardless with Penn State playing their game on Tuesday. Incredibly unfortunate circumstances.
Of course, yeah.
You know, extended that gap there. So perhaps part of the reason why Notre Dame was a little bit slower, but finding their legs within this football game now. And again, this is the question. What do you get out of the Drew Aller-led Penn State offense here? I imagine it's more and more Tyler Warren. You know, the numbers are currently all locked on the Penn State side of it, but every time he drops back to pass, Lisa, he's looking to throw the football to him.
Yeah, it's short underneath. I told you, Harrison Wallace had a number 10.5. We're talking about the second leading wide receiver outside of Ty Warren. At what point do you say, this is our quarterback? We're seeing aggressiveness now. Let's see what we got. You got to cover him.
Who are they throwing to?
Have to cover
Tyler Warren.
It's amazing.
And only Tyler Warren, who is slow to get up as he was bounced out of bounds
throw of the night
by the Notre Dame defense. That was a beautiful throw from Drew Aller. There is no doubt about it, as Penn State got the ball back after a touchback from their own 25, and I believe that was a completion of 22 yards. But Penn State star tight end, the Mackey Award winner, slammed his head hard on the turf at the end of a difficult collision.
Yeah, that has. If Riley Leonard was concussion, that has to be concussion as well. No.
Yeah, look at it for sure. He's already being attended to by the medical staff. He is up and on his feet. That is Tyler Warren. He did get bounced out on Penn State's own sideline. So that training staff right there.
He got hit on the head, leading to him landing like that. And being hit there, it does look. He's through his pregame receiving total. You know, just for people who did wager on that. But if Tyler Warren is out for the game, I mean, I don't even know if they open up the numbers, because you were talking about the end all be all. He has 72 yards. Receiving.
Yeah.
The quarterback has 109 throwing.
Amari Evans, no catches. You talk about Wallace, no catches.
Yeah.
Any targets from any of these guys?
I don't know.
Maybe on the interception in the end zone was the only one that he targeted outside of Ty Warren. But at the end of the day, you got to make plays. He's making plays with his legs.
Drew Aller, a
Unbelievable.
sneaky good runner just because of his size at around 6'5", takes those long strides, a big pickup on the ground there for Penn State. It has almost seemed intentional at times in offensive game plan that Andy Kotelnicki is not really allowing Aller to look at his wide receivers. It's been Warren exclusively or design screens for Nick Singleton and the like. I did make note of this because, again, Aller only 26 total completions, 13 in each of Penn State's first 2 CFP games. 10 of those 26 to Tyler Warren. 96 of 298 yards in total to start off the college football playoff to Tyler Warren. That's more than 32%.
There you go. Who is that?
Warren back in the game now, as we are learning from our producer, Sam Yarnell. But 72 yards, Kev, out of 109 before that completion there for Penn State. 66% of the air yards for Drew Aller tonight to his tight end and Tyler Warren.
I am very happy Tyler Warren is okay. I am upset about a Leonard prop. In what world was Riley Leonard held out for 10 times the amount?
I think it's the type of hit and what obviously the
I
ref.
thought that was significantly.
Yeah, but I think the ref
looked at him as
the
he
ref
got
saw
up.
Riley. The refs didn't make it over to Warren. I'm just saying that's a bit stunning.
And Tyler Warren was on his own sideline. Penn State is driving now inside Notre Dame's 10-yard line down to around the 8 after a big chunk run from Katron Allen. Penn State trying to answer Notre Dame's touchdown drive to take the lead. The Irish ahead 17-10, just over 11 and a half minutes remaining
can't hold
here.
More than that.
The Orange Bowl continues in a close game in the fourth quarter. We're back on SportsGrid next.
Gracious.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with Pro Football Today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Taking a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, "Hey, I never got the text." And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays. Jackpot, cherry. Remember for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
And Penn State answers right back as we welcome you back to In-Game Live Game Day, live right here on SportsGrid. Fourth quarter of the Orange Bowl. We are all even up once more at 17 apiece. For the second time tonight, Nick Singleton powers his way to pay dirt. We are tied at 17 all. Second rushing score of the night for Nick Singleton. And guys, a quick quick answer out of the Nittany Lions. 7-play, 75-yard drive, 3 minutes and 47 seconds. You wanted a good game in the first ever 12-team college football playoff where only one of the first 8 matchups were decided by a single score. We have it tonight in South Florida. Live line still in favor of Notre Dame in this game, even up at 17. A point and a half, minus 115 on the money line. And Lisi, for you, the offense is starting to come here late in the third quarter and in the fourth. Total up live to 41.5.
Yeah, so now national championship on the line. Teams aren't getting complacent. They're going after it, and that's what you want to see. I think it's game on in terms of the final 10 minutes. Quarterbacks are going to have to make some plays. We see some rhythm in both passing attacks. Again, cheap numbers across the board on Penn State wideouts, right? When you talk about Ty Warren, yes, he's 85% of the productivity coming out of the passing attack. What are you going to get out of Evans that started this game with a 24.5 number? We talk about Walsh. I picked him up at halftime, 10.5, 1 target on the game. That's where maybe we can find value. I still think the pre-kick total's live. I think this game could go to overtime. I think everything's on the table, guys, in terms of the final 10 minutes. Buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair point. That this game going to overtime is certainly on the board right now. There are reception props out there. I'm trying to see if there's any numbers that, jump off of the page in that market. Bo Collins for 1 reception is $225. Not seen him in this game whatsoever.
He might not be. The reason why I say that, Kev, is at a halftime, Bo Collins was the only wide receiver not listed. They took his prop. I'd be very leery in terms of Bo Collins. We saw this with Evan Stewart last week where you booked him. They took the bet, and then all of a sudden he hurt himself in pregame. Yeah. You found it out after the game was over. I'd be very leery of Bo Collins right now.
Yeah, it's a totally fair point. Amari Evans was around plus 640 to get 25-plus yards. So I will say about Evans, his longest reception pregame 18.5, right? So if you catch a football, you're going to think you're going to be within striking distance. Personally, a big drive for my Riley Leonard prop where,
let's get it.
The game is now in an interesting situation, but the one thing that the books are not agreeing with that
no. A huge play in the Orange Bowl. Deny Dennis Smith dropping back in coverage. One of the edge rushers for Penn State intercepts Riley Leonard. Denied Dennis Sutton, intercepts Riley Leonard on the first play for Notre Dame offensively, trying to respond to the Nittany Lions' response. I'm not sure he ever saw him trying to target his tight end
underneath.
Mitchell Evans. Denied Dennis Sutton, a huge play defensively for Penn State that picked off Kevin Jennings in the opening game against SMU 3 times, that intercepted Maddox Madsen in the Fiesta Bowl 3 times, and now has picked off Riley Leonard twice here tonight in Miami. Penn State gets the ball back immediately at Notre Dame's 39-yard line.
Oh, that's a disaster of a situation there. He did have Mitchell Evans, but the throw wasn't even like, he just missed it. He had no idea that you mentioned the defender was there. If you are Penn State now, you have a touch of momentum, obviously, within the game. I mean, you have a lot more than a touch. I guess I need to be honest with myself here. They run the football to start, which is interesting because the throwing was working. But in the Kyle Shanahan way, just hit the wide open guy and let him run for 25 free yards here.
Yeah.
You do have Tyler Warren back in, which is obviously so important. But, I will say we are, less than 10 minutes left in this game. He has not made one tough throw tonight, Aller. I'm sorry. He just hasn't. And it's a big part of the reason why this game looks the way it does.
Yeah, it's ugly. Kicking, we'll see, again, if they hold him to a field goal. It's not a give-me shot here, right?
Yeah.
This is right now a 52-yarder.
2-yarder.
So, again, you need positive yards here.
And Penn State has had its kicking issues throughout this season. Ryan Barker has been consistent, not necessarily the biggest leg for the lefty for the Nittany Lions. A 3rd and 5 for Penn State, trying to convert and keep the drive alive. Drew Aller does that. Penn State football deep in Notre Dame territory in a tied game in the 4th quarter. What more could you want in the college football playoff? Next.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with Pro Football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Taking a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, "Hey, I never got the text." And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe. Like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays. Jackpot. Jerry. I'm nimble for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Just so many huge moments in this football game in the fourth quarter with just over 8.5 minutes remaining at the Orange Bowl. Riley Leonard intercepted by Deni Dennis Sutton for Penn State. Sets up the Nittany Lions in good territory against the Irish defense. Drew Aller looking, of course, for who else? The number 44 in Navy. Tyler Warren throws into triple coverage. Ball was intercepted by the Irish defense, but a yellow flag thrown on the field. Called defensive pass interference against Notre Dame safety Adon Schuler, which for the second time tonight, a penalty on Notre Dame's defense negates an interception thrown by Drew Aller. And right there, Katron Allen pays it off in the opportunity. Nope, Nick Singleton, excuse me on that. Nick Singleton, his 3rd rushing score of the night, puts Penn State ahead 23-17, awaiting the extra point from Ryan Barker. Yet again, Drew Aller and Penn State, the beneficiary of what I think we can call slightly questionable defensive pass interference against Notre Dame. Regardless of how you feel, the call was made, negating Drew Aller's 2nd interception. Penn State pays it off just a few plays later. 3rd rushing score, Kev, for Nick Singleton in the Orange Bowl.
2 pass interference calls in this football game? All right.
1 pass interference and a defensive holding was technically.
Both on interceptions.
Both on interceptions near the end zone against Notre Dame.
So Penn State, greatest secondary in the history of college football. I mean, what a clown show, man. Atrocious garbage, ruins the game, made it about themselves, took shine away from Penn State now. That's the biggest moment of the game.
It's not over. It's not
about that, though, Joe.
I know.
That's not about that. The biggest moment of the game, we've sat here, it's 24-17. We've been begging for great college football games, right? That's what we've been begging for throughout this playoff.
Yeah.
Semifinal start, we have ourselves a really good one right now. And definitively, inarguably, the biggest moment of the game was the 2nd penalty called in the secondary of the game against Notre Dame that for the 2nd time took a interception off the board that led to Penn State points. That is unimaginable that's where we are. That should not be the conversation. Aller, again, not good enough. Tyler Warren, megastar, good for him. And you can see the reaction on Marcus Freeman's face. Freeman beyond anger. He's now looking at a guy, oh, it's you again. You never want to get to the point where they're going, Oh, it's you again. Anybody who's played any sport at any level knows that when, oh, it's you. It's the semifinal, and Zebra, wearing number whatever he's wearing, is getting the game ball. All right? That's not good, Joe.
No, it's not. But right now, all you got to do, you got to regroup. You got to get this game back tied 24 up, right? That's the biggest thing. Get it tied 24 up, and then it's game on. You really need to get Riley Leonard back into a rhythm. Bad throw in terms of double coverage, looking for the tight end. You got to look for the hot players right now. Aeneas Williams is obviously one of those playmakers. Jeremiah Love, you got to put it into your head, how many possessions are we going to get the rest of the way? We have 7-8 minutes left.
Sure.
We got to go a little tempo here. You can't be complacent. There needs to be a sense of urgency. We got to get this game tied as quickly as possible. Can't rely on the defense right now. Right? Defense is out there now, extended periods. Your biggest thing is we have to score within 2 minutes. Forget giving time to Drew Aller. Get it tied, get it back to even, and then you can make some plays defensively.
Lisi, I think it's such a good point in terms of the Irish's response here. How do they answer when Penn State has had the answers here late in the third quarter and to start the fourth? And we have seen this Notre Dame defense give up chunks to Penn State's offense on the ground. 82 yards for Katron Allen, 69 for Nick Singleton. All 3 touchdowns for the Nittany Lions tonight, courtesy of number 10. That is Singleton. $189, the rushing yardage output for Penn State at this juncture. Again, you never want to see officials impact the outcome.
It's crazy.
You can agree with the call or disagree depending on your allegiance or your wagers, but it has taken back to Drew Aller interceptions in the end zone for Penn State's quarterback tonight, and Penn State has taken advantage.
And not only that, Ben, but that throw, triple coverage on
and underthrown.
Underthrown, not even giving your player an opportunity to make a one-on-one opportunity and out jump, the defender. I mean, underthrown. Same thing on the other interception. Clear interceptions that if the refs just allowed them to play, that you would say, you know what? You're talking about a swing of potentially 14 points right now.
A very big moment in this football game as Notre Dame will try to take back the ensuing kickoff with a guy who scored from 98 yards out in Jaden Harrison. So how does Notre Dame respond offensively here? That is the question. At last check, the Irish were a 6.5-point live underdog. But if you wanted to take less than a touchdown with the Irish trailing by a touchdown, it's a plus 188 price in terms of the juice that you would get for that plus money opportunity. Total, the highest we have seen tonight live at 47.5. Riley Leonard, 2 interceptions. Drew Aller has thrown the football twice to the Irish secondary, but both negated by yellow laundry on the field. The tough thing, too, as well, it was called on Adon Schuler, the Irish safety. He wasn't the guy that intercepted it. It was a long-time defensive captain for this Notre Dame defense in Jack Kaiser, and not a great start offensively to Notre Dame's answer, a handoff to Jadarian Price that went nowhere, in fact, lost multiple yards.
Yeah, that again, the sense of urgency, right? I understand you want to run the football, get across the 40, and then run the football. Of
course.
Right? Again, you're pinned deep. It's just a bad play call by Denbrock. Again, I understand that maybe you had the right look, but you got to believe that Penn State's play and run, Kev, early on, especially inside the 20.
Yeah, I don't know.
Get up the field.
It's just a joke. It's just such a joke, dude. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, we're sitting here in this game. This kid has 2 interceptions taken off the board.
Yeah.
2 interceptions taken off the – it's unimaginable. You have a game right now that just went through the 7 penalties. So there's a defensive holding and then a pass interference against each team. And then it's 2 false starts, a delay game, and an offsides. So the officials have had a minimal – they've not made a lot of calls. The calls the ones where they've had to make a decision have been 2 unimaginable swings in favor of Penn State. The pass interference call that went Notre Dame's direction not only was far more obvious, right? The one that went Notre Dame's direction was on a first down. The 2, if I'm not mistaken, for Aller were not only intercepted, they were on 3rd down.
Yeah.
Or an incomplete pass, maybe sends out a field goal team.
Yeah.
So, look, man, you learn you don't blame refs. There's a lot of different things that can happen in a football game. And if we sit here and, there is a lot of things that can happen in a football game.
Yeah.
But the play of the game just happened, and it was made by an official.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, but that's hard to shake.
It is.
Just to confirm, the first interception negated by the defensive holding call on Christian Gray was on third down, did result in that short chip shot field goal to open up the scoring out of Ryan Barker. That last one on 1st and 10, but still a huge game-altering, momentum-altering, national championship-altering penalty call. Notre Dame trying to keep this drive alive, but Lisi, to your point, you don't know how many opportunities you're going to have left. This is already ticking under 6 minutes remaining here in regulation as Notre Dame is still at its own 38-yard line.
Yeah, you get it to past the 40. They get the first down here, which would be on their own 42. You got to use tempo. The one thing I could tell you, taking the play clock down to 8-9 seconds. Again, I understand you want to make the right play call, but there has to be a sense of urgency. Again, anything less than 5 yards, if you're across the 50, it's go time, right? This is get the first down.
I would just
no punt and pin in that situation.
I do think there's a little. That's why the urgency is probably not as great, because if you have 4 downs to play with, it's a little less panic potentially.
Yeah.
For the Notre Dame offense. You're out there with the Leonard numbers.
159.
Yeah,
right
we're in striking distance.
Sure.
You'd love to see that get through the numbers, certainly, if we could.
Both teams still have all 3 timeouts as there's about 5 minutes and 45 seconds left in Miami at the Orange Bowl. Riley Leonard on a keeper. Picks up another first down for Notre Dame. It's getting good and it's getting late. Next.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with pro football today at 10 a.m.
And SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Taking a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, "Hey, I never got the text." And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays. Jackpot. Jerry. I'm nimble for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, a shame to be in commercial break when what just happened in Miami just happened. You see the reaction live right here on the desk. Notre Dame has tied the football game up at 24-all, under 5 minutes remaining in regulation. Riley Leonard, a 54-yard strike to Jaden Greathouse, who made a man in Penn State secondary miss and took it all the way to the promised land. We are tied at 24 all between Notre Dame and Penn State in the Orange Bowl. A couple of things to update from the odds perspective. Penn State remains that live money line favorite, minus 150, and a 2.5-point spread in favor of the Nittany Lions. But from the pregame perspective, Joe Lisi, we have gone over that number of 45 and a hook.
Knew it all along. I felt
never
strong, never in doubt. You got to believe your position. I booked it at 40 and a half, did take it at 33 and a half. Hit 2 parlays. I told Kev I was on Riley Leonard 175 plus, on Riley Leonard with the total 47 and a half to throw 1 touchdown. So that's huge in terms of that reception. Did also bank the kid, now I'm a shot, of Evans. I need right now 11 yards out of Harrison Wallace to be better than it was last year with the Hemby play. So I need this kid Wallace 11 yards. I have him straight and I have him in a parlay.
Yeah.
Let's hit it, guys. Let's hit it.
So the reaction
and that overtime number was great.
The reaction here live in the commercial break, a lot of obscenities we probably couldn't share on air, but some excitement. Notre Dame money line overcame through. Riley Leonard skying over his passing yards prop. Here we have some best bets coming to roost, but also a call to the Walsh household that got everybody fired up, backing the Irish here. 4 minutes, 38 seconds left, Kev. We are tied at 24 all.
Yeah, my name's Kevin Patrick Walsh Jr. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? Say, brother.
Right, my father is Kevin Patrick Walsh Sr.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This means a little something, man. This means a little something.
That's it. Joe Walsh. That's it. Long-lost cousin. I see you, Walsh.
No
and this kid landed up for 213. Got him for 225. Why not?
You know what? Seriously, do I get I walked you off the ledge a little bit.
I'll be honest with you, and I can say this now. Yeah, I almost killed you, really. You're telling me Agnelli throwing is good for me. Look at this wheel with the oranges. All right.
This is great.
Speaking of things we can now admit out loud that I did not want to tell or alter the human algo.
Oh.
I bet the over of this game as soon as it opened up at 46.5. So we got through as well. But never told you, Lisi guy.
That's all right.
Because I knew you would not be proud, and I don't want to mush your best bet by any means. We are over those two numbers. We are tied at 24 apiece. That live total up to 54 and a hook. We are at 48. That anticipates another touchdown at some point. Live 2.5-point spread, Kev, in favor of the Nittany Lions.
Yeah.
Penn State gets the football back, and thus the favored side. What do you make of that live spread currently?
Yeah, I mean, the more you think about it, you know, there were moments where Notre Dame was catching, 8.5 live? Notre Dame plus the points probably would have came into play right there.
Yeah.
That's all right, though. Riley Leonard's ready to do what it takes, and so is Drew Aller. And what that means is he's ready to hit a couple of guys wearing gold hats, if you know what I'm saying right now.
Let him hit Harrison Wallace for 11 yards.
Listen,
I need 11 yards. Harrison Wallace, I see you.
24 right now. I think Wallace booked a flight back home. Sorry. It's all right. He might go to Missouri with Prabula, play with a real quarterback. Another flag. That's all right.
Delay a game.
I'll tell you this. The total is up to, as I try and compose myself.
I said this could be a wheel play.
Well, the total is up to 54.5, which would be more points than the pregame number at Ohio State, Texas. You think all of a sudden now you have a bit of a rocket ship on your hands here. If we get to overtime, props get very interesting because you're talking about touchdowns looking very different. Love has one. Leonard has one. Singleton with 3. So, can a Warren find an end zone? Allen bettors are looking for the end zone there. Could Leonard get a second passing touchdown possibly? It's all to play for here. All teams have both teams have 3 timeouts as well. So, either team will. Penn State will be patient. Notre Dame knows they can get the ball back at some point with time to operate here. So, this is a big one.
And good for Riley Leonard. 2 interceptions. He comes back with those 2 big throws coming right out of the half. And that one, unbelievable throw right in stride. I mean, a complete breakdown in terms of the secondary.
But
overtime, minus 140 right now. So they're kind of fading the offenses a little, thinking it's going to take them until extras to get there.
Those defenses starting to bow and stand tall.
Probably a hold again if I had to guess.
Nick Singleton, a huge factor in this offense. Again, if I am Notre Dame's defense, I am selling out to defend the pass against 2 guys. The running back, Nick Singleton, and the tight end, Tyler Warren, which is how you get Harrison Wallace over 11.5.
I just want to say, we talked about how bad Notre Dame was on third down first half, 2 of 5 conversion, 9 of 13 on third down. Flip side, Penn State 3 of 10. 30%. Season average is 46. So think about this huge third down here. They can't.
Yeah.
They don't convert. This will be 3 of 11. We talked about second half adjustments. James Franklin didn't do it.
Woo!
And just to let you guys know, as we near the conclusion of this game, as Drew Aller is unable to reach the sticks, and Penn State will have 4th and short deep in its own territory with just over 3 minutes remaining. We love those live and genuine reactions. We want to watch this game alongside you and sweat out all of our bets. We are reaching a stage here in the most significant of stages on in-game live game day where we put the live odds away unless we are at a stoppage of play in a commercial break. So we don't spoil anything, as the odds makers are often a little bit ahead of our TV screens here in studio. But Penn State will punt the football back to Notre Dame with just over 2.5 minutes remaining in South Florida. 2.5-point spread live in favor of the Irish, minus 154 on the money line. We are tied at 24 all. Riley Leonard in this Irish offense about to take the field, Kev.
I like what I see here. I mean, right now Riley Leonard's rolling 7s. He feels good. He feels hungry. He's 12 of 15 right now in his last 15 attempts throwing the football here. We've got a chance for 12 more yards to get to 225 plus, but that's not even as important right now. Notre Dame, don't be scared to let Jeremiah Love hit his head on the back of the goalpost here on a first play handoff. He probably houses this whole thing right now. I'll be honest with you. I'd run this football right here, and Love probably scores it. Is that Love out there, or is that Price? Can't even tell.
That's Love.
Price, if it's Price, don't run it.
I don't see the knee brace. We're coming up on the commercial break. Those live and genuine reactions to the ending of the Orange Bowl. Store next.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with Pro Football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Taking a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays? Jackpot, cherry. I'm for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on In-Game Live Game Day. We have 2 minutes remaining.
Double shot. It's a 2-shot, baby.
It is.
Yeah, who's producing now?
For 2 minutes left.
Best friends.
How quickly it turns.
Hold on. Take this right here. It's family, right? Isn't that what you want?
Family. You love
See?
me now.
Everybody got a little bit. Now, come on.
Notre Dame has not played in a national championship game since Brian Kelly was in South Bend. They are 2 minutes away from doing so in a tied football game inside Hard Rock Stadium. It's the Orange Bowl between Notre Dame and Penn State. We are even up at 24 apiece at the 2-minute timeout in South Florida. Notre Dame remains a live 2.5-point favorite. No total available at the moment. Minus 154 on the money line. Notre Dame has the football currently in driving with just 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Kev, what do you want to see out of the Irish offense here to try to seal a spot in a national title game?
Smart football. That is the most important thing right now. It is 2nd and 2. You have 3 timeouts. They run it. That makes a lot of sense.
Get up the field. Get up the
your
field.
Athletes make plays. That is okay. If you are Notre Dame, it's not that you want to go to overtime. But sometimes we look at teams and go, hey, man, get aggressive. You know, if it's like the Bengals and Burrow, go score a touchdown, right?
Let me ask you this. Let's just assume 4th and 1, an inch, 6 inches. Are they going for it here?
I do not think they would, and the reason why, Joe, is I think they would assume that overtime would be theirs. Now, if they did, I wouldn't blame them. But we've seen this all game, Ben, be Riley Leonard's number.
Just get it.
This is what they do.
Automatic, really.
And listen, there was a lot of issue earlier this year for the Fighting Irish and their field goal kicker, Mitch Jeter, who has been in college football for a long time. Pretty solid by college kicker standards, but was dealing with injuries. Now fully healthy, the confidence has soared. He was 3 for 3 in that quarterfinal matchup against Georgia. He has drilled his only field goal attempt of the night in both extra points. He hit from 49 against UGA. All Notre Dame needs is 3 to win this in regulation and advance to a national championship game. Looking to win their first title, Joe, since 1988.
Yeah, you know me with college kickers, right? This has to be well within the 25-yard line. And with the pressure in terms of this situation, look, we saw Burt Auburn miss 2 in terms of last week, one of the best kickers in terms of college football. You can't rely on that. You have to be aggressive enough to the point where, hey, you want to kick a last-second field goal, make sure Penn State has no timeouts, that's fine. But just make sure you're giving your kicker the best shot. 20 yards, right there, 37-yarder, that's fine. But, assuming that you're going to win it on a 50-yard-plus field goal with no time. We saw Ryan Day blow that opportunity a few years ago against Georgia, didn't we?
Yeah, look, man, if you're Notre Dame, though, now with 1:26 to go, you have 3 timeouts, but so do they.
Yeah.
The thing is I now don't think Penn State is in a position where they are thinking about their offense.
No.
They're thinking about overtime. So if you're Notre Dame, you can be more aggressive. But I am telling you, Notre Dame is not going to go out there and let Leonard put the ball in harm's way.
Short throws.
They'd love to pop a big run if they could.
Yeah.
Look, I need 12 yards for a plus 500. Like, I want him to throw.
Yeah.
This could also be a run. Like, the run is there for this football team.
And again, we are trying to give you those authentic and live reactions, so we're not going to look at the live odds as we have the game unfolding. 74 seconds left, a flag on the field. It did seem as though Abdul Carter recorded yet another sack.
Calling it on the defense, I think.
Flag?
Illegal hands.
Illegal hands to the face on Penn State. That will be a 15-yard penalty and let Notre Dame, I believe, in a Nittany Lions territory or very close to that plus side of the field.
Oh, yeah,
again,
good call.
Stoppage of play. All the numbers are locked. We're not going to be looking. You're not looking
He's
just
not
to make sure.
No.
Fantastic. Notre Dame has the football
now
at Penn State's 49-yard line. Career long, by the way, for Mitch Jeter. Back at the start of 2022 when he was a South Carolina Gamecock, 53 yards. Has only made 2 50-plus yard field goals in his college career.
If you get it inside the 35, start running the football to allow Penn State to maybe burn timeouts because, again, are they going to
cannot take sacks.
And he didn't.
Riley Leonard's escapability picks up a positive play for Notre Dame and was able to step out of bounds.
Huge.
1 minute and 7 seconds remaining in the fourth and final quarter with a spot in the national championship game at stake. Tied at 24-all, and Notre Dame is driving.
Yeah, I think if you're Notre Dame, though, I want a running back standing next to Riley. Because if it's a light box, though, Lisa, I'm telling you, I need 12 yards. You can run the ball here. You can. These kids are explosive. I'm just saying, the options are there. 3 timeouts.
We hope we get those reactions live next on SportsGrid.
All right.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with Pro Football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Take a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, "Hey, I never got the text." And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays. Jackpot. Cherry. I'm nimble for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
The drive stalls for Notre Dame offensively in the final minute of regulation in the fourth quarter. After a sack, the 5th recorded tonight by Penn State's defense of Riley Leonard, James Rendell, the punter for Notre Dame, comes on and puts Penn State back at their own 15-yard line. About 47 seconds remain. Penn State has 2 timeouts left, and Drew Aller is walking onto the field. Penn State, 85 yards to pay dirt. Less than that necessary for a potential game-winning field goal and a national championship appearance clinching field goal as well. Lisa, you said in the commercial break, James Franklin would not be wise, is how I would clean it up and say it, to allow Drew Aller deep in his own territory to throw the football. Let's see if he does.
No, he won't. He would need to have his head examined in regards to allowing Drew Aller to win this game inside his 15, 20-yard line. I'm sorry, you put it to risk-reward, right? You want to mitigate risk, right? That's potentially the guy's thrown 2 interceptions in terms of 2 plays that got called back. You want to allow him with this type of pressure? Much rather take a shot in terms of an overtime scenario where at least he's inside the 30-yard line and you have a shot to make a play or kick a field goal. Again, this game is going to go to overtime. I don't see Drew Aller pulling this out. And again, he has the opportunity.
Give me that!
Oh, my
Give
God.
me that!
What did I tell you? What did I
that!
tell
And
you?
that is why you do not do what Joe Lisi was just warning you of not doing. Drew Aller has thrown an interception with 33 seconds remaining in regulation. Again, I am not sure, after picking up 13 yards on a Nick Singleton run, why you would ever dream of allowing Aller to throw the football, but it was taken away by Christian Gray, who had the opening interception of Aller in this game negated due to a defensive hold. 30-second takeaway for the Irish this year, the most in college football. And now, Kev, with 33 seconds, Notre Dame has the football in Penn State territory. They are reviewing the interception to make sure that the catch was good and that Notre Dame did, in fact, pick off Drew Aller, I believe it is.
Yeah, I think they definitely did. I'll say this. I think them coming out and running the football to start, damning of Aller, well, they picked up the yardage where they had to throw the football. If in that moment you don't, I'm being serious. You got to bench him. I'm being serious.
I hear it.
You have 2 timeouts. You're 30 or so yards away from getting a field goal up. If you don't proceed to run offense there, it's not as if overtime is some incredible thing, right? Oh, well, Penn State gets overtime. It's a huge advantage, right? Like, they were a slight dog. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not, I don't know, like Georgia Tech. Like, you're Georgia. You're a 14.5-point favorite. Like, if they didn't, they would have had to bench him. They had to throw. However, though, he made the exact mistake that you thought he would make.
Yeah, but why wasn't it a throw like a screen? Why wasn't it something safe? Try to get positive yards.
But then you're also just kind of running again. I think Notre Dame is aware of that.
Yeah.
After you pick up 13 yards to get to your own 28-yard line, now you think maybe you have some life with 2 timeouts remaining, about 40 seconds remaining to get into a field goal position for your kicker, Ryan Barker. But it comes back to bite Penn State. Will it cost them a chance to win the Orange Bowl and a spot in the national championship? 33 seconds remaining. Notre Dame has the ball at PSU's 42-yard line.
Well,
they call a design run for Riley Leonard as well. Again, I do want to remind people, Mitch Jeter, 2 field goals in his 4-year college career north of 50 yards. A 52-yarder last year at South Carolina. His career long is 53 yards in the first game of 2022, also with the Gamecocks. He has only attempted 1 50-yard field goal this season in a golden helmet, and he missed in Notre Dame's only loss of the year against Northern Illinois.
Let's just say this. Credit Marcus Freeman for maintaining the composure of this team. They haven't won it yet. They're in a position. But, again, we talked about it. This team is playing with confidence. And, again, credit to Riley Leonard. He's bounced back from adversity. Hopefully they can pull it out. On the flip side, I'm tired of the hype of Drew Aller. Kid's not an elite quarterback. He's not. I'm tired of it. I'm talking to everybody, every draft guru. I'm talking to you. Absolutely gutless, atrocious. He deserves to be on the Jets with that performance.
I would just say, if you're Notre Dame, the opening decision to run the ball when you have all your timeouts, that's fine.
Yeah.
The target line is not just that green line, though. Now, again, maybe a little greedy due to my own props, but I don't love run.
No. On the same exact play, Riley Leonard keeper. Listen, as we saw in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, when they needed something to happen late in the most critical junctures of the game, Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator for the Irish, called big number 13's number each and every time, but there will be 3rd and short. And it's not like they're at the 20-yard line. They're still around, I believe, the 34.
34 is a 51-yarder.
Yeah. Again, are you running or throwing?
You know, I wouldn't mind like a short out, like a 5-yard out to the.
Yeah, I would have.
They have 23 seconds left, right? You get the first down on first down, a 5-yard out. You can then run it on first down and maybe hopefully get another 3 or 4 and maybe make it a 44, 45. If it was me. In this situation, I would not want to rely on a kicker. If I had to, it would have to be under 40 yards. And again, it's a coin flip with the pressure that they're going to feel right now.
I just don't know what the play call here is because you only have the 1 timeout.
I'd say,
first down does stop the clock for a second,
right,
33.
Right? 3 or 4 yard hits to the right up top.
I mean, a bubble screen to Great House, I'm pretty sure he hits his head on the goalpost.
They're giving it right up top. They're giving it.
Notre Dame gets the first down.
Just go down.
Inside Penn State's 25-yard line, 16 seconds and counting. Of course, a first down in the final 2 minutes of a college football game. As the sticks reset, the clock stops. 16 seconds. Did not seem as though any time came off the clock. Now 2 seconds trail off the game broadcast. 14 seconds remaining. Second down for Notre Dame after clocking and spiking the football. They still do have a timeout. We are tied at 24-all with 14 seconds remaining in regulation. Marcus Freeman telling his team to stay out there on the field. I have not checked the live odds. Do we have any numbers?
No.
Probably not even worth it. We don't want to spoil anything for ourselves. If it stays here, what does that say?
I can't even see that.
CFP history, kickers are 0 for 4 on go-ahead field goal attempts, like in the history of the playoff or something like that.
So they are now that will be the last offensive play, you would presume, although we just got to another stoppage.
I assume Penn State
with only 10 seconds remaining. I believe Penn State called second timeout. It had to have been. We've got 2 minutes left in this segment. Go ahead.
Since the college football playoffs start, 2 overtimes last year with
Rose Bowl.
And
what
then,
we had, of course, in the Peach Bowl between ASU and Texas. And I believe one prior, because we had overtime in the Rose Bowl between Oklahoma and Georgia.
Right.
And did we get to overtime? Bama, Georgia, National Championship.
Right, there you go. So there's the 4, right? Unbelievable.
We did see overtime juiced at minus 140. Officially 14 seconds remaining in regulation, tied at 24 apiece. 3rd and 10 here for Notre Dame on Penn State's 25-yard line.
I have a question.
Yeah.
They obviously ran it, right? Or he took it. But,
designed to get to the middle of the field.
Did they not use the timeout?
Penn State used the timeout.
Okay.
Listen, we're down to the final minute of this segment. You really hope this does not come down to a commercial break when we are not live on air to give you our genuine reaction. 10 seconds remaining. I believe James Franklin has called his final time out to at least make this not the final play of regulation in what we believe will be an attempted field goal from Mitch Jeter. His 4th year in college, his first with the Golden Domers, and an opportunity with 12 seconds remaining in regulation at the Orange Bowl to potentially send Notre Dame to a national championship game. 20 seconds remaining in this segment.
It is what it is.
24 all. It is always what it is. Our reactions on the other side. Can Mitch Jeter send the Fighting Irish back to a national championship? We'll tell you after the break.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with pro football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Taking a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. He texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays? Jackpot. Jerry. Remember for a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
We are live right here on In-Game Live Game Day. As it often might happen during the commercial break, the most critical play of the game did occur. From 41 yards out, Mitch Jeter drills the field goal to put Notre Dame ahead 27-24. Now just 8 seconds remaining in regulation as we are back live on air. And Drew Aller absolutely airmails everybody. 4 seconds stand in the way with Notre Dame holding a 27-24 lead from keeping the Irish from a national championship. Notre Dame trying to get to a national championship game for the first time in more than a decade since 2012, in hunt of its first national championship since 1988.
What are they?
Could this be the final play of regulation and a lot of pitches about
count?
to happen in Miami? I'm not actually allowed to give play-by-play, but it does not matter. The Orange Bowl is over, and Notre Dame will play for a national championship in the 2024 college football season, winning the Orange Bowl 27-24. First appearance in a national title game since 2012 for the Fighting Irish. In Kev, in year number 3 for Marcus Freeman, he leads Notre Dame one win away from a national championship.
Marcus Freeman, in unbelievable season in more ways than one. The Week 2 loss to Northern Illinois was one of the worst losses probably in the history of the program when you consider the expectations that this team had this season and what seemingly that loss meant for the season. The response was not just winning out, but it was winning in dominant fashion for basically the remainder of the regular season. It was a defense that was phenomenal under his lead, and it was an offense that made explosive plays when needed with Leonard, Love, and Price dominating in the backfield. It's a team that had to host a one-loss Indiana and dominated that team no matter what that final score says. Then followed up by playing the SEC champion in the Georgia Bulldogs, multiple-time champions under Kirby Smart. And their defense, once again, was spectacular, and they got the job done. And then they go into this game against Penn State. They close as underdogs in the football game against what is supposed to be, right, kind of the barrier, if you will. We don't think Penn State's one of the purest of elite teams, but Penn State every year could possibly they could possibly hit the bricks, and that's exactly what happened. This Notre Dame team, I've had to listen to for years that they don't belong in this spot, that they don't show up in this spot. Strength of schedule clowns. You know what? We actually finally did have an easy schedule. And Notre Dame took all of the advantage that they possibly could. And this is a football team that is now going to be in the national championship game. Yeah. And there are no caveats that you can try and throw dirt on that. Alabama didn't make the playoff. They beat Georgia on the way here. Oregon didn't win despite having a bye in the Rose Bowl. They beat Penn State. There is absolutely nothing. This is one of the elite programs in all of college football. They have the opportunity now next week to cap it off with a national championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember people in the middle part of the season after they lost to Northern Illinois.
Middle part. Week number 2 of this year, Lisi.
People were saying they didn't deserve to be in the playoff. I don't think anybody on this desk, I mean, as one of the unbiased men in,
that's the thing
in
about
sports
me,
media,
I'm
I
so
love you.
unbiased.
I love you. You bought
Freeman.
back into your Fighting Irish. Let me just say this. Marcus Freeman, great head coach. He learned from his mistakes in terms of the first couple of years, certainly learned in terms of the early part of the season. We talk about second-half adjustments. They did a fantastic job. They did it against Georgia. They did it again tonight. Yeah. And to see Riley Leonard, great. He wasn't elite tonight, but he made enough plays, and he was able to put the bad plays aside and still find plays and ways to elevate his team. And when you have a dual-threat quarterback, you have a front seven that's opportunistic, gets after the quarterback. I don't care if they play Ohio State or Texas. Whoever they play in terms of a week from Monday, they're going to be in that game because of the defensive secondary as well. And, again, Marcus Freeman, all the credit in the world. He's got this program headed in the right direction, and they're going to be live. Whether they catch 3, 4, 7, they're going to be live when they play in a national championship game.
Those updated national championship odds for a week from Monday night in Atlanta, Georgia. Ohio State still a hefty minus money favorite at minus 150. The Buckeyes will take on Texas tomorrow night on a Friday in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. The Buckeyes, of course, a 5.5-point favorite. Texas's price, 4-1. Notre Dame's number to win a national championship is plus 260. You guys know me. You know I love special teams. You know I think that all 3 phases is not just a coaching cliche. For Mitch Jeter in his first year in South Bend, who dealt with injury all season long, not fully healthy, did not have 100% of his confidence, to step up in the most significant spot the Irish have seen in more than a decade, that's one thing. To be a perfect 2 for 2 tonight is another. to be a perfect 5 for 5 since the Sugar Bowl against Georgia, bearing all 3 against the Bulldogs. Field goal kicking the difference for Notre Dame. Takeaways the difference. 32 total takeaways for the Irish this year, the most in FBS, with Mitch Jeter's winning and national championship clinching field goal, Kev. 151 points off those takeaways, including the 3 that will send them to a national championship.
And again, a team that had 2 interceptions taken off the board, which is a rarity. We don't see that very often, right? Usually, on a free play, but, a holding or the defensive pass interference there. And I think it certainly speaks volumes to Aller. And I think after the break, we're going to be here for about 10 more minutes. We'll talk Aller. We'll talk James Franklin. But it also says a lot about Notre Dame's defense that the thought was, oh, this is dangerous. Don't let him do this. And he was thrown into the eye of the tiger, and they made him pay.
Yeah, I credit Den Brock as well, because we talk about 2 of 5 in terms of third down for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They finished 11 of 17.
For sure.
You talk about the second half adjustments, Penn State 3 of 11 on third down. When you can't sustain drives, especially in the second half, and that defense was out there for extended periods, Notre Dame took over, and that's the main reason why. They were playing bully ball for much of the year, Penn State. They needed to make adjustments. They couldn't do it.
We will go back on this game in the Orange Bowl. We will set the stage for tomorrow night in the Cotton Bowl and give you our closing thoughts on the other side of the break. But I would just like to say, best bet winner sweep across the desk for the Orange Bowl as Notre Dame wins outright. More on SportsGrid next.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with Pro Football today at 10 a.m.
And SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Taking a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this. I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text. Put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. Just 3 games left in this historic college football season. Thursday, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is definitely one of the top teams in the nation.
Clash with Penn State. Friday, Ohio State looks to slow down the Horns, with the Buckeyes favored to top Texas.
You know what I see? 2 similar plays. Jackpot. Jerry. For a big man.
Follow along for every play and every bet with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
We welcome you back to In-Game Live Game Day, our college football playoff semifinal special, live right here on SportsGrid. Joe Lisi, Kevin Walsh, and Ben Stevens with you for some closing thoughts at the conclusion of the Orange Bowl in a Notre Dame victory, 27-24. From the betting odds perspective, the Irish closed as an ever-so-slight favorite tonight in South Florida. They went outright to book a spot in the national championship game, the first national title game appearance for the Irish in more than a decade since 2012. A total that closed at 45.5. That early was a defensive struggle, saw 31 points in total in the fourth and final quarter to go over 45 and a hook, and even over an alt number of 49.5 that the mastermind had here on this desk. Lisa, guy, when you think of how the Orange Bowl came to a close and Mitch Jeter drilling a 41-yard field goal under 10 seconds remaining in regulation, what will stand out to you most?
Just the ability for Notre Dame on a defensive perspective, even though they were giving up yards, right? They made adjustments. We talked about it on the radio side all week, Ben. 31 turnovers, right? They forced 18 interceptions in regards to the back end. They come up with another critical play when the game is on the line. That's the biggest thing for me. Defense travels well. When you run the football, win the turnover battle, you have an opportunity to win ball games. They did it against Georgia. They won the special teams battle, won the turnover battle. And again, when the game was on the line, their quarterback, Riley Leonard, stepped up and made plays. And on the flip side, unfortunately, Drew Aller didn't. And again, it's the same MO, Kev, for Penn State. They beat teams that they're supposed to. When they step up in competition, they can't punch above their weight. And that's a knock on not just Drew Aller, but that's a knock now on James Franklin in terms of his tenure in Happy Valley.
Yeah, I think if you're Notre Dame, I'm being serious. One of the great things about this win is it suggests that you are one of those teams that James Franklin is incapable of beating.
Yeah.
Because James Franklin is, at this point, incapable of beating the great teams in a college football season. And, it's very funny the way this may play out for Ryan Day, who would have been fired if we didn't expand the playoff. And some people, kind of shifted it to what will they say now? Well, they'll say he's doing what he was supposed to do. Preseason co-favorites to win a national championship, mostly alongside Georgia. And team that was booked as a favorite to beat Oregon by the time they got to the Rose Bowl. I bring that up to say Ryan Day will, I don't know if you feel his job's already saved. Maybe you do, right? He saved his job through winning, but it was on the line because you're trying to hold your program to a standard.
Yeah.
If you are Penn State, what is your standard? Because they had wondered for a lot of years, Penn State, hey, listen, man, we're in this unfortunate division of the Big Ten. We don't ever get to go to the title game. Well, this year you got to go to the title game. And not by your own doing, right? Because Ohio State fumbled going to the title game with their loss, right? Well, we never get to go to the playoff because it's only 4. Oh, well, now you got to go to the playoff. And what happened? You were given the easiest path by basically anybody's standards.
No doubt.
You won those games, and then you closed as a favorite. Again, you didn't run into a great Saban team, a great Kirby team, a great Ohio State, a great Clemson, those teams that we've seen. I really personally, love this group from Notre Dame. This is an all-time great team no matter what happens next Monday. So if you're Penn State, you have to ask yourself, what do you want your standard to be? Because your standard right now is not. It's a team that's not serious.
The AP rankings of the 3 teams that Penn State saw in the college football playoff. SMU was 12th. A win. Boise State was 8th, a win. Notre Dame is 3rd, a loss. Penn State against top 10 AP-ranked foes in his tenure. Now 4-20 straight up. I mentioned the Irish are 3rd. Penn State under James Franklin against AP top 5 foes. Now 1-15. They closed as an ever so slight favorite. So I couldn't share my stat on Penn State as a favorite when they are elite. 34-1 since 2022, but as a dog, winless 0-6. But in the big games, the Nittany Lions with James Franklin have come up short. Tomorrow night, it's the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Ohio State and Texas, the Buckeyes, a 5.5-point favorite. Total 52.5. A quick thought from each of you as we will determine the other team that will face Notre Dame in a national championship a week from Monday.
I like Texas. I took them plus the 5.5, like them on the money line. We talk about secondaries. Up against Notre Dame is Texas. They forced 21 interceptions, 58% completion percentage. Give me the horns.
Yeah, I'm going to be on Texas or the under or both, but that's my current outlook for tomorrow's game. Really excited to watch it play out.
Going to be a great game in the heart of Texas. Notre Dame will play for a national championship this season as well. Joe Lisi, Kevin Walsh, and Ben Stevens, we thank you for joining us all night long on SportsGrid.